And I'm with you this week. And I'm joined this week, as I'm joined each week, by Doug Griffith, my co-host.
Good afternoon, Tony.
Good afternoon.
Beautiful, beautiful day. The weather report is sunny and not too hot out today.
Yeah,
so it's great.
The last couple of days have been warm-ish. I work with some older folks who have the air conditioner on,
All the time,
hanging meat. Yeah. So it's I go outside just to thaw off a little bit. But I got to the beach for the first time this year yesterday, and it was nice. It was nice.
Yesterday was nice.
Yeah.
But the previous day was
brutal.
sweltering. Yeah, I heard people talking about needing to have shoes on to go on the sands.
Yeah,
So 96 or 97. Of course, I think at the beach it was a little less, but
yeah, it's always
had a breeze.
Yeah, it's always a little bit better at the beach. The day before, to jump right into it, the day before I was up visiting Old Dominion at Fordham and Old Dominion because I've officially started the book. Have you been? Have you been to the brewery up there?
Not for a long time.
It's nice.
Probably been 4 years since I've been up there.
Well, I've never been up there, so it was very nice to have like a little golf course back there. If you want to play golf, instead of cornhole, they have they have golf. And lots of fun. Got to meet Jim Lutz, who was a fun guy to talk to, and all their beer people, all their brewers and stuff like that. Everybody was very, very cool. And I wanted to start there because it really kind of ties into one of the last stories that we were talking about, which is creating shared value, which I took from, I think, Business Insider. So one of the things that he was talking about is when he got to Fordham, when they hired him, they weren't doing very well, and he got in a cab and he said, are there any breweries in town? And the guy's like, no. And that's what he was talking about. He was talking about the people in Dover didn't know that Fordham was there, and they had just made the decision to start contracting because they were very big and they merged with Old Dominion, and they had made the decision to contract back to Dover. So they closed the Old Dominion brewery in Northern Virginia, and they closed their Annapolis brewery. And he said the people in Northern Virginia were furious. He's like, people are just starting to drink Old Dominion beer again. That's how mad they were that they took the brewery away. And what it took was a rebranding because they're doing they have all the pinups on the they're the ones that the Old Dominion has pinup bottles now, like pinup girls on the bottles. And that's what it was. They're like, we just have to. The beer is the same. The beer was never the problem. The problem was they left their hometown and people got upset. And he's like, I don't blame him. I'd be pissed too if someone took away my brewery. So he was really kind of sensible about it. And what reminded me of this was in this story where they were talking about how, being involved in the community is, you can't just, it's not like other shops where you can just go and say, okay, I'm selling hats now and people who are looking for hats are going to come here and buy hats, or I'm Walmart. Small breweries don't have the kind of financial resources to take out national ads, to do big campaigns. And so being a part of your small town.
And they have to rely on the small town clientele.
Right.
And like you said in Dover, if you didn't know they were there, how do you get the people there to come?
Right. And their cool thing is, I think they said the first year they had 1,000 people come in and take their tour. And they were only open on Friday and Saturday, I think. Come in and take the tour and do the tasting. And I think last year they had 10,000.
Wow,
something.
So big difference.
Something absurd like that. But we were talking about this last week when we were talking about you going out to the Bike and Brew, and you going to all the festivals, and also in you guys participating in the community.
We try to get the word out. We've even gone down to Burley Oak for some of their events, just to let people know about us. And Third Wave, we try to participate with them when we do beer tastings or their homebrew contests that they do. So we try to get to different events.
Yeah, and I think that participating, it makes people feel better about like what you guys are doing, and that you guys are reliable, and that you're just another small business that happens to involve brewing,
Right.
Which is something that people aren't always as used to as they can be.
Well, and for us, it's a lot of people think about, have heard about craft brewing, but don't know what it's all about. So that's what we're trying to present to people so they can see what it's all about.
And you've got the two-pronged approach, and I think that that's what makes you so popular among the brewers. First of all, most of the brewers have known you for a long time and like you because you're a good guy and you're easy to like. But also,
were home brewers with us.
Exactly.
They were past customers, and not only were they past customers, but we, through the years, have offered different training sessions. Most notably, probably the all grain brewing, where a lot of our current brewers came to these different things, and through us presenting it and having other brewers there from breweries. Used to be Joe Lemna came, but now it's more often Mike. Joe Lemna worked for Dogfish and Evolution when they were in Del Mar,
right?
And now Mike Bronski from Evolution comes sometimes, and also John from Third Wave.
Right.
I can't remember pronounce John's last name, but
like Manischewitz, except with the Paskashevitz.
Yes. Okay. Or Jerry Franklin, who was a home brewer and had helped us for a number of years, and now is assistant brewer
over at Third Wave.
So there are training instructors for a lot of the more advanced stuff.
Right, and not in return, but also, I guess, you're kind of a salesperson for all of the craft breweries, as well as for your own business. Yeah.
Everybody kind of scratches everybody else's back.
Yeah, you're like, this is craft beer. This is what you can know about craft beer. And if on your end, if they start to enjoy it, then they're going to want to know more about it.
Right.
And on the brewer's end, if they start to enjoy it, then they're going to buy it more often. And I think that works out for
hopefully
everybody.
Some of those will become home brewers.
Absolutely.
Not just craft brew drinkers.
Like me. Go ahead, say it, like me.
That's all right.
But I do also want to talk about, on that note, on towns still getting used to being able to know the difference between people who enjoy craft beer and people who are looking to go out and get tanked. Dogfish had ran their expansion plans past the zoning board again.
And got approved.
Yeah. Would you like to tell this story?
I know a little bit about it. I've not talked to Sam since the approval. I think it was just this Monday, but understood that the first time through, the square footage that they noted or said that there would be 9,000 square foot, where only they had to just talk about the actual serving space. They talked about the total square footage space.
Right.
The actual serving space, I understand, is just approximately 100 more square feet than the current serving space, but the distillery and all the supplies and everything else for the brewery, the small brewery they have there, is all back office or back restaurant space, which is really not included in the serving space.
Right.
So I think that was the biggest change, that they're only going to be adding basically 100 square feet, which is a 10 by 10 section, maybe 10 seats at the most.
Right, more than they had, yeah.
But they're going to add 1,000 square feet of processing space or kitchen space or whatever.
So they can do, and now I think the distilling is going to move all the way to Milton, though, right? Is that the?
I don't know. I don't know what all the plans were. It could be.
I talk to too many people, and I don't pay attention to who they are. Yeah, like, oh yeah, well now I know that, and then I just go around repeating it.
That may be. I mean, the distillery part I know has gotten bigger and bigger, and probably they're out of space, and they can probably use the space for distilling to better purposes and provide better tours at Milton.
And now Milton it's becoming like a city unto itself at this point. I don't mean the city of Milton. I mean the brewery at Milton. Right. That is absolutely huge.
Well, they got the original brewery location, plus, and they've added the shipping, receiving, packaging building, which is huge. So it's a whole separate building now.
And the other thing I wanted to talk about with this was that they're they purchased this building next door, right? Like a year ago or 2 days. That's been a while. They've
Yeah,
had that.
It's been probably a year ago in downtown Rehoboth.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
next to the restaurant.
And they've always gotten along pretty well with the town. So I was surprised when it didn't. I mean, they had to go at it with Milton a little bit, but I always thought they got along pretty well with Rehoboth.
I thought so too. And I mean, it's like the pizza place, Grotto Nicola's had built a place well over the square footage minimum or maximum, and they've gotten it all approved. So I was very surprised that it didn't go through the first time for Dogfish.
Yeah, it's tough to see, and it's not. I guess there's no nice way to say it, but it's almost like daring you to take your ball and go home. It's
I even heard that some of the residents, some of the people actually have homes or condos right behind where the current restaurant is, that if the parking lot would go away, they felt that a lot of that noise from the parking lot would be gone too.
Right.
And inside, they're going to have a courtyard for people to wait for tables during the summertime, which should relieve presence on the street, get more people inside the actual building and off the street, would help things too for congestion wise. It sounded like a lot of pluses, but the commissioners didn't see that.
It's weird only because it's not as if Dogfish already doesn't have a reputation for being involved in the community and doing the right thing. I mean, I was reading that they tried to do like a promotional night to get younger people in. This is early on. Bring your own log night or whatever. And the idea was they were going to bring your own log and have a big bonfire. And they had their beer at a big discount. And what they got was a bunch of kids stealing their wood and bringing it in to get in free or get their first beer free or whatever. And it was a disaster. And this is I got him brewing up a business, and he said, essentially, I didn't want to be this place. We're not, we're not a big party place. We're not.
Well, that's what the restaurant was before. It was a seasonal, only open June through August, and cheap beer.
Yeah,
as much possible was put through as possible. And I know at that time the neighbors didn't like it because it was loud and bottles were thrown over the fence and everything, and that's what he was trying to
get away from.
Right.
And I think he's done a good job. I think a lot of them have done a good job. The Third Wave never has any complaints from, like, when they went to expand, nobody said anything. And I guess they at this point own, somebody was joking, they owned that entire block or 90% of the block.
Community neighbor.
Yeah. But yeah, they're always involved in the town, and they do lots of good stuff. And I'm trying to think of some other ones that are like Mispelian. They love Mispelian over in Milford.
Milford, yeah.
Too many M's.
I think even Burley Oak. It seems like Brian Brushnor tries to do things. I know he had a benefit for Habitat for Humanity and does other things within the town.
Yeah. And I just did that story, I guess, last week or the week before on Shore Craft Beer. But the idea of I spoke with Brian about this, and back to the thing that we said, it's not mercenary, but it is, you have to create a reason for people to remember that you're a thing in the community. You're not just a place to go and get beer, but you're part of the larger picture. And when you do that well, it's easier on everybody, which is why the thing in Rehoboth was so mind-boggling. I mean, we talked about this when it happened. It was, I guess, 3 months ago or 4 months ago.
I think it's interesting the way Brian, he doesn't have a restaurant or doesn't have things to eat there, but he's got menus from other restaurants who will deliver for you.
Yeah.
Or if you want to go to the restaurant, they also have his beer there. So, I mean, it's a win-win for both parties.
They do that. The Brick Room in Salisbury does that. They're a new craft beer bar. So they don't make their beer there. They carry all local beers and all local wines. And that's what they have. They have, I believe, in the original plan, I don't know if they still do it, but the original plan, their idea was to have a waiter who would run around the corner and pick your stuff up for you.
Oh.
So if you ordered from one of the restaurants on the block, they would go and get your stuff and bring it back to you. But stuff like that, again, making it so everybody's involved, involving as many people as possible. It's just always fun, and it's always an important way to.
I mean, you get to stay there and drink, get something to eat.
Absolutely.
The restaurants benefit from that purchase also.
Yeah, I was actually on my way to the beach last night. We went down to Assateague, and I'm like, I would love a beer. And I said to myself, I'm like, you know what? You're gonna have to drive home in the middle of the night, and there's no way you're gonna pick up a 6-pack and have one beer. So for the benefit of all involved, I skipped a beer yesterday. But I promised myself my brother's staying there. So I'm going to go back down tonight, and I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to take a nap by the campfire, and then I'll get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and drive home if I have too many beers or if I'm too tired. Because
so he's camping.
Oh yeah, he's camping. I it's one of my favorite things to do is to camp. Have you camped at Assateague?
No, not at Assateague, but I've camped a lot in the past. But not at Assateague.
Well, camping on the beach is just if you like to go in the water. I mean, you get up. Coffee with the sunrise and then jump in the ocean. Yeah. It's just really, really nice. It's I haven't done it in a couple of years because
and the water should be rather warm now.
Yeah, that's what my daughter was saying, that the water's cold. I'm like, it's June. The water hasn't been cold in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's practically July. And when it's hot out, it feels cold on your skin, but you get in, it's so refreshing, and the salt is just so
it's just nice. That initial dip feels cold, and then you're fine from there beyond that. But
so, beach report.
Yeah.
And we've got one more thing we wanted to go over were the numbers. Did you take a look at the numbers?
Yes.
What jumped out for you?
4 companies have 50% of actually 74% of the profits, but they've got 50% of the market basically. That's the big part. I mean, and I think you had another one there from 10 years ago where there were like 10 companies that were 50% of the market. But
right. This is for 2014. Yeah. That's all we have. Well, one of the things that I didn't know was
look at InBev.
Yeah, and of that, InBev has a third, AB InBev, which is Bud and Miller. Now, I thought Miller and Coors were the same company, but it looks like here that they split back off again. SAB Miller is different because Miller and Coors were together.
They were at 1.2.
But now I don't know if Molson bought Coors from Miller or what. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought they were part of Miller also. Miller Coors and SAB had bought them. Mm-hmm. And SAB, I guess is South American breweries,
right?
That's South African breweries,
right? They have. Oh no, I thought they had Carlsberg, but they don't have Carlsberg either. It's easy to lose track. It's interesting. I don't know how Jim Cook feels about this pie, but because this now instead of listing Samuel Adams, it lists Yuengling as having 3%, and Samuel Adams is.
No, that's not Yuengling.
Yanjin. Oh wow, I don't know what that is. That must be a Korean beer. Yeah. Never mind. It's just I can't read.
I think he's included.
He's in the 33%.
But still, 33% of the market for the craft breweries is not bad.
No. Well,
that keeps coming up.
Yeah. Well, I think they say that they want to get to 20%. So I don't know what else is in others. If they're like production, like Little Kings or any of the like National Bohemians, probably not. That's not. I think that's probably not a craft beer, and also not a.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Not owned by one of those. Yeah. So I think it's beers like
everybody
that.
Else. Yeah.
The regional lagerers are in there. So just an interesting. You can check it out on the website we have on our Spotify. Not our Spotify, on our Storify. We've got the links to all these stories. The other story that I wanted to tell that I forgot in the beginning, so I'll tell now before we do our plugs and go, is Fordham beer. I think is going to be the beer that we try to make for the book, that I try to get Ed to make for the book, but not the Fordham beer that they make now. Robert Fordham was.
He's the founder of Fordham Brewing.
No, he was. Yeah, well, he was the founder of Fordham Brewing in the 1600s.
Oh, okay, all right.
He was one of the guys who started Annapolis, and
that I didn't know.
No.
That's why Fordham was in Annapolis to begin with.
Yes, and Jim Lutz just told me all this stuff, and I'm like, that's great. And I'm like, you guys don't use that recipe. He's like, no, we don't use the recipe. But anyway, so what he said was that I might be getting Robert Fordham's name wrong, but you can look it up, or you can pick up Delaware Beer this time next year. But Robert Fordham, in order to get a charter, he needed to have a brewery. You had to have a baker.
Oh.
And so, and he was
one
like,
of the basic,
it was one of the basic
staples at the time,
right? And so he started Fordham Brewery, and it closed almost immediately. And he was like a bad dude, like he was like a philanderer and maybe a cheat, like a business cheat and all sorts. So he, according to Jim Lutz, and I'll find out the rest of this and I'll share it with you. But he was kind of a bad guy, and so it didn't last long. But when they were looking for a name for the brewery, when they were starting it up, the guy who owns Ram's Head started Fordham. Okay, right. And when he was looking for a name, that's how he came up with the name. So I still got to talk to the owner of Ram's Head, and we're going to do some more research on that.
So you said charter. Was that charter for the city of Annapolis
or for the state? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know which, but it's something important.
Yeah,
which is cool.
At the time.
Yeah. So
and it could have been either way at that time.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, and I'll bring you up to date on it. But if anybody knows anything about Fordham, Robert Fordham, or whatever his name is, and also if anybody, I'm going to say this every week until I get to find out if anybody knows anything about any of the big Delaware beers from the 1950s or the late 1800s. Diamond State Brewing is one of them, and Joseph Strogel is another one.
You're not German? You can't pronounce that name?
You know what? I can't remember.
I think it's German.
It might be Stoller.
Yeah.
I can only picture the beginning and the end. I don't know where the E's and the O umlauts are. And I don't know if there's a TH. And it looks too much like Stroh's. It's not Stroh's, but it looks enough like
maybe
Strollers.
Shortened it?
Yeah,
from that.
But if you know anything about the big lagers from the 1950s, I'd love to know about them.
And even before, any time.
Right, and even before the Delaware beer, because having a little bit of a hiccup there.
Assuming breweries that were in Delaware, especially Wilmington area, from sometime the mid 1800s, I would think.
Yeah, well, that's the Joseph Strobel. Strobel? Oh, maybe I got it right by accident.
Okay.
and Diamond State, they opened in the 1850s. They closed during the Prohibition. They opened up in the 40s and closed almost immediately in the 50s. They didn't make it long after Prohibition. And after Prohibition, they had moved to Pennsylvania. Diamond State came back briefly, and Strobel.
That was a bad period of time. I know that a lot of towns had breweries at that time, and they didn't make it past Prohibition.
Yeah, and hundreds of jobs, hundreds of people unemployed, and to unemploy people, and then again, I mean, I don't have to tell you why Prohibition is bad, but just the unemployment. I mean, above the unemployment, the loss of tax revenue. Those two things are not something you need with a looming depression, which we found out. Spoiler alert. Yeah. And I don't have anything. I don't have anything coming up. Whatever you got.
We're talking about classes beginning of July. I think the 11th for a extract brewing class, and the 18th for an all grain demonstration day. So
that'll be cool.
We'll have those up on the website. We were just talking about that this morning.
And that's of July.
Of July, yes.
July 11th is Riverfest in Seaford. So I won't be able to go to that. But I think the 18th I'll be clear, and I'd like to get out here for another, for another all brew day. Except maybe if I promise I won't come, maybe it won't rain, and then I can. Once it doesn't rain, then I can sneak in.
But we now have a place to do it outside.
Yeah, you've got the undercover place,
right,
and all that. So stay tuned, because if we can live stream that, then maybe we'll do that. But we'll talk about that going forward. But other than that, keep in touch. Take a look. We will be online in July. It is June 25th now. July 1. So this show may not make it to the internet, but the next show, the July 2nd show, will definitely be on iTunes again. We're going to reboot our iTunes. So please, subscribe. If you have unsubscribed because we've started doing this and not the other thing, please resubscribe. We've learned our lesson and are contrite. But other than that, that's it.
Enjoy the summer.
Have a great summer. Yeah, we need a